Welcome to Power Up Your Practice, the go-to podcast for law firm owners and managing attorneys working on the business, not in it. I'm Ruby Powers, your guide into the heart of law practice management, bringing you insights from leading legal minds, trailblazing attorneys, and expert guests who provide you with an actionable perspective on running your firm more effectively and efficiently. Prepare to open your mind, be inspired, and power up your practice to the next level. Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Ruby Powers, your companion through the ever-evolving landscape of law practice management. Welcome to Power Up Your Practice. In each episode, we'll get to hear about our guests' lives and their journey and what their superpowers are and their perspectives on reaching success. We're always learning here over at Power Up Your Practice. And so today, I'm really excited to have Kimberly Bennett. I first learned about her at the ABA Tech Show in 2019, was definitely very impressed by her. And I still remember what I learned from you on the panel. It was about like how to figure out how to sort of like deconstruct what your tech stack was. And I really like that sort of just that concept, because I think a lot of people get a little overwhelmed about how to go about improving their tech. But she's always been a trailblazer. So not only has she a practicing attorney with now a micro firm, but she's also the CEO and co-founder of Fidu, a client experience platform enabling legal teams to leverage the power of recurring revenue by selling, delivering, and scaling subscription and flat fee law practices. So Kimberly, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Excited to be here. Hello, everybody. So I've been a practicing attorney, I guess, for over 17 years, barred in a couple of states. And I realized early in my career that I didn't want to follow the traditional model. I started in-house before the market crashed, and then had a lot of changes in my career when the market crashed back in 2008, and just wanted to continue to grow. And so like fast forward to today, now I was running a subscription law firm. Now I have a tech app, which has been a great journey, and just learned a lot along the way about what works, what doesn't, and how to really build a business that works for me and works for the clients that I serve.
So, well, why don't we walk through a little bit more about that journey? Like you've been practicing 1 year more than me. And I really remember that time because I graduated in 2008 and I started my practice in 2009. So that was a very tumultuous, formative time in a lot of attorneys' lives. But, it takes a lot to go from, attorney to like tech founder, and even the whole subscription model. I mean, you don't hear that many. I can count on like one hand how many people are talking about it, really. And you're one of the top people that talk about it. So, and you made a company based off of it. So like, what made you, maybe give us a little more detail about that journey.
So yeah, 2007 was an interesting time. 2007 was like the height, like it was great times. And then 2008 happened, and it was so I think if you came out on that time, I think when COVID happened, you were like, COVID schmovid, like, okay, I went through the market crash. Here we go again. I don't know. That was a little bit of like my energy. Yeah, like a little my energy. But yeah, so how did I get here? I mean, with the market crash, and I was working in-house, and I had an opportunity to take on a new role, and then the role was pulled because the market crashed. And that meant my growth opportunities like went to a complete standstill at that exact moment. And I, was with the company for a little bit longer, but I really needed to figure out a way to grow. And so I went out on my own. My father's also a practicing attorney, but I had the opportunity to learn a bit from him, but really early just kind of had to go out on my own and figure it out because the market was so different, because the opportunities just were non-existent. I like watch people's offers get pulled, and then I watch people really like struggle to like figure it out. And I thought, well, spend all this money on this degree, I kind of have these other skill sets. Fun fact, I was also a PhD student at the time. Bringing all that together, I thought, well, let me just go out and start working with clients and like kind of see what works. And I followed what we were taught, which was like bill by the hour, get a retainer, go after clients, maybe we weren't taught this. I don't know. I don't feel like in law school they ever taught you to like focus in an area. You learn all these areas of law, so you think, well, let me just do everything. So I took every type of case. I did retainers, did all those things. And then I had two unfortunate back-to-back experiences where the retainers ran out and clients didn't pay and we couldn't get out of cases. And so it was a really hard experience to go through being, at the time I did everything. So these were family law cases. And I guess I can understand at that moment, while maybe the judges were less than willing to allow for an attorney to get out of a case because of the market, because of what was happening, maybe that person wouldn't be able to get someone else. But that meant I wasn't being paid anymore. And I was like, the friction that existed between getting paid and doing the work I didn't like it. I followed the rules. I billed against it. I sent the client the bill. I thought I did all the things right. And so I just really said to myself, there had to be a better way to do this. And I think, people were struggling financially. So I wasn't unaware of the circumstances, but there had to be a better way. So my first step before subscriptions was flat fees. And I literally just started, I just turned on flat fees. I was like, forget this. I would rather be paid on time for what I think it is. I can learn better, price it better later, but I'm gonna get paid completely. So I turned on flat fees. And then that was good, but the ebbs and flows of flat fees, I really hated. It was good month, bad month, client, no clients. Just that feast or famine was just not the thing that worked for me. And then I just was reflecting back, what felt easier in my legal career. And this was still a limited legal career, but I came in-house. I got a paycheck week after week. We didn't track hours. We served in-house clients, right? Which we serve internal clients. And I thought, well, I need to do that. So what would it look like? What did I need to do? I didn't have a word for it, but I was just I need that experience where I get paid on time all the time, consistently. And I literally just pitched a client I had, and I was like, hey, what would it look like if you pay me? It was $500. It was way too little. But it didn't matter because here I am today. But I was like, what would it be like if you paid me $500 and I just did the stuff for you? And they said yes immediately. And I thought, oh yeah, this works also. Damn it, I should ask for more money. But I thought, I was because I'm a labor lawyer by training is where I started. So negotiating was kind of my bread and butter. But it was the best thing that happened to me because I learned that a client will pay ahead of time for an ongoing set of services, right? And for what I call now is a subscription, but instead of it being a retainer where they're just holding your time, it's how do I show up for you month after month and really support your growth? And the exchange is not about time, but it's about results and deliverables and outcomes. And it's about how do we help you grow and transform the business. In this case, I was dealing with business clients, but businesses that you were growing. And that's what led me to today. So literally it was market crash. I needed to grow. I needed to figure out my career. Then I was like, okay, go out on your own. I stopped counting over 6 figures worth of money and was like, hell no, this can't happen again. So let me do flat fees. That was good. I got paid, but it was ebbs and flows and I hated that. And then I was like, well, how do I just get paid consistently? And then I started on this subscription journey. And I'll tell you, in the very beginning, everyone told me it didn't work. Everyone told me you didn't know what you're talking about. They were like, the rules don't allow it. I was like, I read all my rules. I know what it says. I know how to do this. I adjusted my engagement agreement to match what the rule said. And then I went, forward, and, almost 15 years later, it's been a great experience for me, so.
Why do you think that there's been so much resistance to moving over to subscription model still to this day?
I think there's just a resistance to change in legal, and it's the thing that people knew. We're taught to look at the past and go from there. And I think a lot of us, particularly I think coming out of law school, thought billable hours was the way. Having moved into this model, I realized, well, no, it was only been the way since the 50s, 60s. Before that wasn't the way. It's just the thing that took over when people, I think, basically got lazy and just decided I didn't know how to price, so I'm just going to use an hourly as a metric. And then we had a terrible partner structure that kind of came from it. But I think it's just fear of the unknown, a lack of understanding of ethics and the rules, and just saying no because maybe that's just not the vision that you've seen, or you've tried it. And then I think sometimes we just don't have the business fundamentals as a part of our training, so that that doesn't allow for us to see other business models as opportunities for growth that don't look like the one that's been probably the front and center version for legal for several decades. So that, I think that's where I would.
I agree with you. Everything, the resistance to change is, and a lot of conversations we're having these days are about AI and tech, and just the there's how many people are in the laggards department because they're just like afraid, and that the risk tolerance and then the other thing, law practice management. That's why I love law practice management, because I came from a long line of entrepreneurs, and I just see that deficiency in the practice of law generally. Like if we had infused a little more entrepreneur, like business mindset, some we'd be doing so much better. And that's why I'm really grateful to have another, book on that topic in the podcast and everything. But no, I agree. And the other thing, like just knowing the rules, like I think a lot of times we have this folklore. It's like it gets passed on. You can't do that. You can't do that. And like even writing my second book, like I'm still just mesmerized of like how we've only been able to advertise, so many years. We've only been able to sell our practices so many years. Like it's just like, are you insane? Like it's only been until recently. But a lot of it's also because we and then when we don't have a lot of good role models of like people who've done those things, like there's still practicing attorneys who say I don't advertise, and it's almost like a badge of honor, or I don't market. I'm like, really? Well, then how are you like you're going to survive exactly only on word of mouth? Well, you have to start somewhere. Anyway, that's another topic. But no, I agree. In immigration, we are predominantly flat fee, but I do have an hourly aspect, and I'm trying to work quickly to move over to flat. But when I've done my research about this, it seems like there's certain areas of law that seem more prone or amenable to subscription. But I'm curious, like, are there some, what's your take on that? That are some that are more
I mean, the early me will tell you every area of law could do subscriptions, right? Like, I mean, yes, there are areas that are easier, but I think the core areas of law that we all think about today all have opportunities for a subscription model. And because the thing though, a lot of people think of subscription simply as the payment mechanism. It is not simply, it's a model that's built off of recurring revenue. And that is a lot of what we've been talking about for years, but how do you realize it in an hourly model? It's very hard to realize a productive, efficient, and effective delivery. If we want to have tech-enabled, process-driven firms, you cannot continue to bill by the hour. Like they butt up against each other. So it really is just a step in what a lot of us have been doing or trying to do for many years, and putting a business model around it that actually supports it and allows for it to grow and scale sustainably. And so, I would say, of course, business, of course, IP, immigration. I've seen that work in immigration, estate planning, family law. And I think that the tip that people have to think about, a subscription isn't forever. Right? A subscription is for a defined interval. Like you don't need your clients to subscribe to your services forever, because they have a goal, they have an outcome, there's something they're looking to achieve. And maybe in the span of time when they're working with you, I use family law examples a lot, but like say a lot of, family lawyers, I did this, was divorce, but like my client didn't come for me for a divorce. At the time, I didn't think of it this way, but now I do, which is they came for me for a happy life post-divorce, right? The divorce is this thing that's it's in the way of them having a better lifestyle. They don't want to, they want to have some financial security, some financial stability. They may have kids that they have to manage and not manage. They want to protect and think about how they're going to help them grow and flourish. And so that's what they're thinking about. And so how do we design services for real life people going through real life things, or operating businesses that have those things that come up? That's when you really think about a model that's more holistic, that is more collaborative, that allows for scale, that understands that not everybody needs a super bespoke. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but they need a set of like baseline things to help them through it. And as lawyers and legal professionals, we have the ability to provide strategy, advice, counseling, issue spotting that you really don't get a lot in people's day-to-day lives that would help them reduce risk, improve opportunities. And so there's so many practice areas. I think what are the ones that are hard? A contingency practice doesn't make sense. The whole model is built different, right? So it's a different business model that's built on. Personal injury doesn't maybe make sense, right? It's a different business model that it's built on. But there are things after that maybe that same client has to engage with that maybe you would. Now, the one that people always say no to is criminal. And I'll push back and I say, as someone who worked in Department of Juvenile Justice in a past life, recidivism is real, right? So how do you help clients not recidivate, that is not the word, not experience recidivism, because, I'm tired now. But how do you help them, right? It's not simply about dealing with it when the court issue comes up, but maybe they're on probation, and how do you help support them across that journey? So I think it's opportunity to say, take a step back and get creative about how you support your clients across a particular span. And if we talk in marketing terms, right, we all talk it in marketing, but you don't deliver it in the service, right? Oh, we help you achieve these things. We help you get to this outcome, but then you're just a very transactional in the service. Let's open it up to much more relationship driven service. And then I believe many practice areas will be able to find opportunities to bring a subscription into their business.
So you had a subscription model at your firm for a while before you started Fidu. What is Fidu for those who don't know, and what are some of the services that you provide?
Yeah. So before, I had a subscription business. So I've had a subscription business from 2010, 2011. I'm trying to think of when that year was, when I first pitched them. And then Fidu came in 2021. So we're talking 10 years or so, right, before Fidu running the model and still having the business today. But Fidu is all about providing the backend infrastructure for a legal team to sell, deliver, and scale a subscription. So a subscription is not simply about the payment. You can get the payment done, but it is about retaining, delivering on a process-driven, tech-enabled service that is collaborative, that's interactive, that allows for you to integrate the various resources and tools that you're using to deliver that. And that's what we do. So from we can take, we can help a law firm from the point of engagement to disengagement. That's what we focus on. So we don't do the sales, we don't do the marketing. Some people stretch the platform to do those things, but the core platform is about helping them sign, pay, automatically come in, and then helping deliver month after month all of the services and value that you're providing in a streamlined way. And then when it's time to offboard them, then allowing a streamlined way to offboard them. So that's what we do.
Is it also include a portal or a way for them to? Oh, okay.
So from a features perspective, functionally, we are a portal plus. So of course, at the core of a subscription, it is the client experience. It is retaining a client month after month, not simply them saying yes to that first month. It's month after month, how do you keep them in your subscription and keep them satisfied, happy, and referring a returning client? And so there's a client portal, plus then we have our Fidu sales piece, which is automating your sales, your engagement and payment processes. So we integrate with things like Confido or Clio Payments or LawPay, for example, or some of the integrations we have. Then on top of that, then we have AI component as a part of it. We have project management as a part of it. Some features on document and automation and workflows. And so it's about powering up the back end. So think of it as your client portal plus your back end support to enable the delivery. So not simply just sharing documents or sharing messages, but project managing, telling clients what to do, getting clients to give you information, maybe for providing clients some on the spot counseling via our issue spotter. It's all done in a way that helps you be compliant, but it allows for you to leverage AI at scale. So things like that. It's really about focusing on the delivery of your services in a way that is streamlined, automated, and tech enabled.
So what's some of the biggest challenges for firms to move towards a subscription-based law practice?
First, getting out of your own way, right? Talk to your client. Instead of thinking it doesn't work, go and talk to potential clients and see what they would be interested in. And you tell a client, do you want to be on a subscription with my firm? They're going to be like, what are you talking about? But if you say to the client, hey, would you like predictable? Would you like to know how much you're going to pay month after month? Would you like to understand what that includes? Would you like to come to us and not stress about what that next bill is going to look like? I'm pretty sure most of your clients are going to say yes, right? That doesn't mean it needs to include everything. You're saying, okay, it doesn't need to include everything, but what are the things you would want? What's the baseline? What are the things that would help you get to this next step? What types of things that we can support you on? And maybe sometimes clients don't know because we've done a terrible job as a legal industry to show how legal touches everything in a way that doesn't feel like frightening or like super expensive, right? Like in a way that allows for clients to say, oh, just like they think marketing, oh, let me add this marketing to my business, or let me go to talk to a therapist about an issue that's popping up. Okay, let me bring my lawyer as a part of this conversation to help me strategically build my business, to help me strategically think about how I'm going to grow my family, maybe through adoption, or having to go out through the divorce, or, you know, grow my wealth through estate planning, or, you know, in the immigration sense, like think through, I have family across the world that are looking to come to US, and how do I do that in a way that matches our goals, matches my family planning needs, you know, all the things that you could be thinking about, that your clients are thinking about. Just start talking to them, seeing what their needs are, and then ask the question, and do they like to get surprise bills, or would they prefer to understand what
Well,
the price would be?
well, you got to really go forward with it. If you don't, you know, like if you like pitch
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Maybe, but you don't have to
yeah,
go through it forward with a million people. If you pitch
that's
it and
true.
3 people say yes, you can beta with a few people and see, and then dip a toe in there and start the process, and see, you know, what that could look like if you maybe did start that journey to switching.
So, okay, so what are some of, I guess, the opportunities? I think it's just that, just basically, what are the opportunities for doing subscription model? I mean, I think the predictive revenue is one of the big
Mhm.
ones that you've said. So what are some of the other opportunities?
Yeah, predictable, forecastable revenue. It allows for you to grow sustainably. It allows for you to think through more long term about your business. So, like from a business perspective, it helps you be able to grow. It helps you to think through, okay, what type of development do I need? It helps you be more streamlined and intentional about the tech stack that you're putting into your business, because you're thinking about it at scale, and how can it do the things you need today and grow with you as your clients grow. From a client's perspective too, it's really about having like a team member, or having an advisor that they can go to without the stress and overwhelm of all the daily day-to-day things, that they could just ask the question, right? For me, a subscription gave the flexibility and the freedom to create space for me to make decisions on what I wanted to do, how I wanted to show up, you know, what mattered to me personally, professionally, in any facet of my life, and gave that freedom to make decisions, right? Like you're not chasing clients month after month. Instead, you're focusing how to deliver to the clients that work well, and how do I find more of those clients, right? And really design a business that can grow, that is based off processes, that's based off of systems, that is not, and this may be controversial for lawyers, but I think getting out of the bespoke idea, like we don't need to be so bespoke all the time. Like I mean, I'm sure we've had this conversation enough. ABA has the conversation enough. You know, there is enough legal needs out there that we are failing to meet. We all hear the number. It's like 70% of global legal needs are left unmet. That is not a US thing. It's not a UK thing. It is global. And if we're saying that that's true, then the current model that we have today does not solve that. And how do we instead bring a model that gives us the capacity and the space to serve more people without burnout, right? So to me, it's like increasing finances, reducing burnout, increasing access, you know, serving more people. So increasing access to legal services across various income brackets, right? So that's what I think the opportunity exists here. And it's profound, and it's big. And instead of us hating the LegalZooms of the world, how about we realize that they're serving a client we have yet to serve, and let's figure out, or customer we have yet to serve. Let's figure out how we can design our services better to serve more people, and actually do the work that we've been tasked to do as a legal industry.
I definitely agree. And just, we have to reimagine, and this is an example of avenue that you've made a lot easier for law firm owners to provide those services to just all that whole access to justice gap that we have out there, and that latent market that is just, would love to know more predictable pricing point. And I think when I've heard this conversation had, and people say like, they love the fact that they know they can call me and they're not getting billed by the hour for this conversation or this email or whatever. And of course, like, you have your different tiers potentially, or you definitely have your scope. And so that's what I think a lot of people don't understand, right? Because there's like, sometimes you can build out like a good, better, best, or I don't know what what's the way to describe it, and just like the different tiers and what's the scope within each different area. But I think one of the things when I've been researching and listening a lot about subscription models, you really just have to get organized. And I think it's sort of, I don't know, this sounds a little abrasive, but it's almost lazy to charge hourly in some respects, because you don't have to figure it out. But if you have to, in flat fee, you have to figure it out. You have to get organized, and subscription just probably even better than flat fee. But you have to take that leap of faith to get there. And immigration is easy for us to stay in the flat fee because that was the majority. I went to hourly for litigation about, I don't know, was that like 6 or 7 years ago? I'm trying to get myself back into flat fee, but my excuse is I'm onboarding a new case management software, and I'm trying to figure out how long things take and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, the whole concept with billable hour is that it sort of rewards the attorney for being inefficient. And now, okay, I know I'm not trying to be offensive to those who are listening to me and are like, oh, that's the way we do it. We've always done it that way. But I mean, when I was researching this in my fees chapter of my book, like the attorney that invented the billable hour, which I just got rid of that screen, but it was built, he came out with it in like the early 1900s, and it was for like a legal aid scenario, and he was trying to actually get people more organized, and it became like a unit of service. But I think as time has gone on, it sort of made us a little bit less efficient. And I think that the subscription model is great. And I think if someone says first, like, it can't be done for my area, maybe there's like those few areas you said that it doesn't really make sense, the contingency and PI stuff. But for all the other ones, it's really just a matter of getting organized.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a simple way. I think even when you think about, for tips, when people are thinking about launching, like launch one, don't even launch multiple. I think you get yourself overwhelmed. A subscription business model, recurring revenue business model, is a business model. It means you need to put all of the pieces around the marketing, the sales funnel, the delivery mechanism. And Fidu is all about the delivery mechanism, but you still need a sales funnel. You still need marketing, right? And when you have multiple tiers, you need to market to multiple different types of clients or segments of a particular type of client. So I think getting simple, but yeah, I think when you're thinking about it, people overcomplicate it. And I think it's true. I would agree. And I am not shy to say I hate the billable hour. I think it is the worst thing that came into the legal industry. I think it has caused a lot of unhealthy statistics. Too many, close to 50% are like dealing with mental health issues as a norm in our industry. That comes from working too much. That comes from sleeping underneath your desk. That comes from these ridiculous billable hour requirements that people can't really meet and don't even match. And that's the psych side of me. Well, I'll put my hat on there. It's like, doesn't even match what psychological research tells you about how humans work and how humans behave and what is a healthy way to operate. But we have these unhealthy ways. And that's what I think the billable hour led to. But I 100% agree. It's about getting organized. And getting organized is not a magic bullet. It does take time. It does take energy.
Yeah.
And I think because you're in this sell time mentality, getting organized, there's no place for someone to see them reap the rewards for it immediate. So that immediate gratification sometimes lets people say it doesn't work, versus saying, well, you know what works? When you realize you've automated 80% of what you just did. And it's not that it takes away any of the nuance or it takes away any of the complexity of what you're doing. But what it does is it makes it consistent. It gives us, that assembly line mentality, which I know feels uncomfortable. But like most of the day-to-day, what people do, they need to understand how to move through, instead of like the thing that needs to be in the court case and go to the appellate court and go through all these stages. Most people don't need that. And so I think if like you said, we get organized, we get clear, we launch one subscription. And I've coached and trained and consulted for many years prior to having Fidu. And I used to tell people to launch 3. I don't tell them to do that if they're first starting. Launch 1, that's where people I find are the most successful. And then they build after. There's more I could say behind without, going down that rabbit hole. But and I would even say good, better, best is one methodology. It's really just like, how do you design for what makes sense for the clients that you're serving, right? What's their big goal, and how do you design a subscription to take them across that journey? period, right? If you do that, then you don't have to make it so that this is the less favorable subscription. Instead, you say, this is based off of where you are on your journey, and this is how we show up, and this is how we can support you to get there. And you have the decision to decide on how fast or slow you want to go, for example, could be a way you could describe things. But yeah, getting organized, thinking process minded, thinking systems, taking a systems approach to how you operate your business will allow for you to truly leverage, if not just subscription, I think any new model that comes down the pipeline that isn't solely about trading time for money.
And the other thing I've heard a lot in conversation about subscription model is just, and you've said that, is just like, what is the client value? Because I think we get sort of divorced by that concept of like billable hour. I'm getting you this thing, but there's probably a lot of things that clients need or want, but we're not providing, or we might think it's like something simple, but they're like, oh my gosh, I love that. Like maybe it's just like the constant updates, and we're like, well, there's nothing to update, but they just want to know what it is, or something along those lines. And so I think really having an honest evaluation with the clients that you feel like you can ask, to get a feedback on what do they want to see, would they like more of, that net promoter, the net promoter score. Yeah. And then really just, ask them. I think a lot of us attorneys are afraid to ask because we're like, well, what are we going to find out? And like, we might poke the bear and get them to write a bad review or something like that. But how else are we going to be able to improve our services?
And if they were going to write a bad review before you asked, they were going to write it anyway. Like, I mean, I think it's like taking the opportunity to say, like, if I don't know any lawyer except for maybe Big Law that says they love hourly. Like, you like the money hourly gets you, but is it getting you money if you're working an obnoxious amount of hours and the only time you make money is because you build it, versus you're saying, I can build a system that I can continue to improve, I can continue to learn, I can iterate on, and then that can help me deliver better quality, effective, efficient counseling services to clients. Why is that a question? Why are we even still having the conversation about how to actually realize this, instead of just saying, hey, we know what isn't working, but there's a better way to show up, and let's just go ahead and do that. And that's for me, like one of the things, like, of course I'm passionate about subscriptions. Of course I've done that. But like, even when people come into Fidu, like we have a way for them to like start thinking about how to package their subscription built into the platform. So you can start thinking, okay, what do I want to include? Like you were saying, these valuable pieces that the client, we might think are just silly. But a great example is, you know what? A lot of us as legal professionals have a Rolodex of other professionals that we might work with, that we engage with. If you're in estate planning, you probably have CPAs and financial advisors, right? For immigration, you might deal with with the business side, maybe HR professionals. On the family side, you might have psychologists or other, school systems, whatever. Like, you have resources that maybe your clients don't have access to, that you can fast track their ability to get something done, that can move them through a stressful time that could be as simple as sharing a name, right? I get all the things that can come with sharing that name. But those are the ways you start when you take a step out and stop trading time for money, and you think about the big picture, which is what subscription is about, the holistic view of your client across their journey. You will really be able to say, oh, I can add a lot more value. And that value is, there's not a price on it necessarily. That the client will come back because they didn't just get the divorce done. They were able to connect with X, Y, and Z that helped them in all these things post-divorce, right? And so that's how I approach it. And that's my goal with all the things that we do with, that I, even with my clients today, even though my little micro firm that still exists, like still supporting those, right? The reason I can still have a micro firm today, which is what I call it now, is because they're subscription clients. Right? They month after month, they pay a subscription fee to get access to a set of services, and it doesn't include everything. When they need more, the clients can opt to start a process to elect more, to add on as they need. And I have a client that's looking to do that right now. Like, that's the reality of this. It doesn't need to include everything. It gives the client some freedom, some flexibility, but they know they have someone on their side to help them as they're on a particular journey. And that's how, we position our services, and we found that our clients like that.
One thing before we start closing up, I was just thinking, I've been thinking a lot about succession planning, and I have an article out with Law Practice Magazine on ABA about succession planning and the big ideas edition. And I could just think that if you had a subscription model firm, you could probably get a lot more value for your practice, because you can have repeatable, defined revenue for the near future, and a lot more than just hourly or flat fee. So that's something to think about too for people who might.
100%. When I first decided to kind of move in this direction, again, I didn't have a name for subscriptions, but I thought, okay, how do you sell a firm? Yeah, you could sell it. Clients can't necessarily go with you. They're not obligated, right? But what are you selling? So the IP side of me, these are my IP years, was like, well, I could sell my processes, my system, how it works, right? That is something that if you know the engine and the engine continues to produce, they can bring on new clients that are not necessarily the book you have today, but it's a book that has more opportunity in the future. And I do think these outdated models don't allow for it. It keeps the status quo of a really terrible partnership model, which doesn't reward growth and experience and education, but something that's about getting organized, putting in the work, and then you can see the fruits of your labor over and over again by using data, by talking all the things we hear, data-driven, systems approach. All that is the realization in a subscription model. And then yes, from a succession planning perspective, absolutely. Years ago, I used to do a conference in Atlanta with a couple of my old co-founders. We used to run a community called Atlanta Legal Tech, and that's transitioned to something else now that I do. But we ran this conference all the time, and I used to do this talk and about, hey, like, what type of firm are you building? What type of business owner do you want to be? Do you want to be like an employee? Do you want to be a freelancer? We all heard those four quadrants. But how do you realize that? Because most of us are still operating more freelancer, not really, we're not really moving into business owner. And then if you really ultimately want to become an investor, you want to take a step away and the thing works without you, you need processes, you need systems, you need templates, you need to be able to scale. And that's what it looks like. So yeah, I'm 100% a fan of, like, if nothing else, it probably brings you more money in your pocket. So why are you, if someone told you you're leaving money on the table right now, I could tell you hourly billing. Years ago, Thomson Reuters used to put out a report, and I used to do this in my presentation, but it's about $40,000 per year per attorney that you lose hourly billing. And that's at like a $200 to $250 rate. Like, you're leaving that money on the table, hourly billing. So imagine if you can recapture it and then build something that can continue to grow. That's what it looks like, switching models. That's what it looks like to me. And like flat fees, as you were saying earlier, is just one step away from a subscription. A subscription is a flat fee on steroids. So if you can kind of just reimagine the flat fee and put it into a subscription setting, you're basically a step away.
Yeah, I'm still taking that in. That's a good quote. It's a flat fee and subscriptions is a flat fee on steroids. Yeah. Well, if we're not already sold, we should be. So we'll take this in. So, is we like to ask every guest, what's your favorite game or board game and why?
Yeah. Okay. So I was like, what's my favorite? I'm gonna say Spades. So it's a card game that probably super popular in the African American community, and hopefully others too. But I've played it since I was like in high school in lunchroom with my friends, and it's like it's competitive, it's fun, it's strategic, and it's a way to like create a lot of memories with friends. So Spades is my game.
Awesome. I love games in general because they have a lot of memories, and when I love ones that are fun and strategic. Yes. So what would you consider your superpower and why?
My superpower. I would say my superpower, maybe this sounds so silly, probably strategy. I'm strategic. I'm a big picture thinker. I can see 20 steps ahead, help people kind of like get out of the weeds, see the big picture, and then start a plan to execute it. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I need to ask other people. Maybe they would say strategic. I think that's what they would say. We'll go with strategic.
That's like the entrepreneur in like Gino Wickman's like traction, like sort of the one who can see the big picture, and it doesn't necessarily want to be the implementer or in the weeds or anything, but it can be to the detriment to some people, but you just have to find the right people to help implement things.
Yeah, but no, I love strength finders as like a way to kind of think through how do you show up in this world. And so I have a mixture of like strategic and execution kind of personality. So I felt like it gave me like that. I lean strategic, but I'm a high achiever. So like that push through will get me to do the weed stuff. But then if I can like bring someone on to support me, I'm happy to like share in the journey.
Well, that's a good combination because you not only have the ideas, but you can execute them. So sometimes people are one or the other. So what are your like big takeaways? Even though, I mean, we've had one unofficial commercial for subscription model legal services, but I think we should all listen to you as a trailblazer in this space. And I don't really see anything wrong to subscription model as long as we can get ourselves organized to that. But what are some like parting thoughts that you would have for our listeners?
Yeah, I would say, if you're thinking about it, go talk to some clients. That's what I say. Like, you don't need to design it all. You don't need to like have your perfect subscription. You're not going to have your perfect subscription when you first go, and don't expect that. But if you start talking to people and your potential clients that you think would be a good fit, those that you want to go on across a journey with them, ask the questions, listen to the feedback, be open to hearing what they're saying and not what you think that they're saying, right? And then design for what they tell you what they want, not what you think they need. And then be willing to iterate and just go for it. So like I used to like talk and coach and design it. Nope. Go pitch it. Go talk to people. See if you can get a yes or two, and then put it together. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. You can grow into it. You can expand upon it, but it's the future. AI only accelerates this, right?
Yeah.
We know. I mean, the numbers exist. What is it? Is it Goldman Sachs it's Goldman Sachs that put that number out there. They think 45%, 44% of legal tasks are going to be automated by AI, if not already, but soon. And it's only going to go up. So that doesn't replace us. Instead, it says, how do we show up better? How do we do things differently? How do we leverage technology in a way we have yet to? And we still have 70% of opportunity that exists for us to do things, and to serve and to better show up. So I would say, just start with pitching, just start with talking to people and see where you can go. And I do have a subscription guide. So we have it at Fidu. It's free. You can go and check it out. And it gives you like a full kind of overview. And then maybe about a year ago now, it'll be. So it was like September, I think it was maybe the finance issue, LP. I'm sorry, don't kill me. I did an article about flat fees and access to justice and subscriptions. So like check that out or go grab our subscription guide. But just get started. The train is moving. AI is going to destroy hourly, or you're going to have an obnoxious hourly rate that people are going to look at you that make no sense. So let's design better business models and let's just like start the process. It's just one step in front of the other. So that maybe be my parting takeaway. Just try it. Just start it. Don't get stuck.
So Kimberly, how can people find you if they want to reach out and learn more?
Yeah, so I'm across social media at K Bennett Law as my personal handle, or you can do Fidu app for the platform. And then, like I said, go grab one of our free resources. We do workshops, we do talks. Thank you so much for allowing me to share here. It's been great. But yeah, you can find me across all social and LinkedIn. I love kind of chatting on LinkedIn, so find me there.
Well, thank you, Kimberly. I'm really grateful to you because you were one of the first like speakers I heard at ABA Tech Show that really like resonated. And I know I reached out to you, I think like on LinkedIn or email or something like that, and just sort of helped bring me into the fold. And I know you've been on the ABA Tech Show board in the past and really involved. And I'm on the board now this year, and just I think I think there's just a lot to learn from like those people who are in that innovators and trailblazers in that space, and just it's a great community, and I'm really glad that you're doing what you're doing, because I completely agree as well that AI is just making everything happen faster, and if we're not on this train, then we're going to be left out and miss it. Well, thanks for joining, and everyone, thanks for listening and joining us on this insightful journey today. Your time and engagement means the world to us. And if you've enjoyed this episode, like it, give us a review, tell somebody else about it, forward it to them, post on social media. We've been going strong since the end of 2023, and really excited, always looking for great guests. And if you want to stay connected with us, you can find us on the Facebook group Power Up Your Practice, and more on powerupyourpractice.com. And my new book is going to be coming out in mid-August. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Feeling overwhelmed by admin tasks? You're not alone. Many immigration lawyers are in the same boat. That's where Staffy comes in. Over 90 law firm owners just like you have turned to Staffy for help with legal, administrative, marketing, and client-facing work. Now, Staffy's mission: to help lawyers find balance while growing their firm. With bilingual virtual staff and full HR support, they take the hassle out of team management and focus on what matters most: your clients and your practice. I've personally benefited from Staffy's support with 7 virtual assistants of my own across various areas of 2 of my businesses, including my law firm. Now, schedule a free initial consultation with Staffy. That's stafi.cc, and use the code RUBY. That's RUBY for $500 off. Thank you for tuning in to the Power Up Your Practice Law Practice Management Podcast. I'm your host, Ruby Powers, and it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you. Join us next week for another episode where we'll continue to explore insightful strategies for success. Power Up Your Practice with us. See you next time.